American Family Radio Network, Financial Issues, 866-300-9298, 866-300-9298. James, just to finish up with James, I just want to mention to you that, so anyway, if you've got other, I have some concern because, that's a significant amount of money, and I don't want to see that much money coming out of your retirement plan. If it were 40% of what you had saved, I may consider it. Unless you work for a local government or somewhere where you've got a pension and you guys aren't going to be concerned from an income standpoint of where you'll be. If that's the case, then yes, I would do it. But I think that aside, I would keep trying to do as much as you possibly can into your current 401k and maintain the one you have. And let's see, if you're going to work another 3 or 4 years from now, obviously, and then take a long, hard look at it once you retire. But it would push you by taking all that out. It's one thing that you got to pay the taxes on, but it's also going to throw you over, in all likelihood, to another tax bracket. And I'm not real keen on that idea. So if you were to do it, it would only make sense to do, whatever amount is going to, be the difference. So let's say the difference between you and the next tax bracket is $30,000 a year. Then I would say, yeah, you could take 25 and put it towards the mortgage principal now. And then in January, do another, 25 or maybe a little bit more then to do the rest of it. Okay, so hopefully that's giving you some insights. Let me go to Joyce. Joyce calling us from Louisiana. Hey, Joyce.
Hi, Dan. Thank you for taking my call.
Sure thing.
I wanted to kind of give the people that are listening from Louisiana a heads up about Senator Mary Landrieu's office.
Yes.
I called them twice in reference to the Affordable Health Care Act. And both times I called, I have been told things that were absolutely inaccurate. I have not received any helpful feedback from them, or have I received a plan that she has to help change this to help people. I asked them when I called how, when my husband's pay gets cut, because they're going to cut back on hours, and we are going to be forced to go over to the Affordable Health Care Act, and so our insurance triples compared to what we are paying now, and double our deductible that what we have to pay. How are we going to get the money to pay bills when his workload is cut? And the only response I got from them is that she entered a bill that was to help us keep our health insurance if we like it. And my response to them was, but if my husband's changed jobs, then he has to go on the Affordable Health Care Act. We don't have the freedom to go find insurance. And my other question to them was, at what point are the politicians going to sacrifice their pay and their benefits to help the American public that they have hurt through this? And the only answer I got was that she was introducing that bill, and that's all they could tell me, and they would relay the message. And so my rebuttal to her was that now she's coming out because she has an election this year,
right,
to say that she's entering this bill. But I hold her accountable because she passed this bill without ever reading it.
Yeah, and you need to continue to hold her accountable. She's in a fight for her life right now, so there's a lot of people in Louisiana holding her accountable. She knows it. She's running and hiding from it. She has been doing that. She's avoiding it. She's the one that came out and said, she's been to France and we should have a health system like France, and that she would vote for it again. I mean, she just said this 3 months ago, that she would vote for this bill again if she had to, that it's a great system. I mean, this is someone that has supported this bill all along the way until the public opinion dramatically shifted on it. And this is what politicians do. She's not changing her stripes. She's just changing the way she is trying to wear them, so they're in some sort of disguise. So I think you're doing the right thing. We need everybody in Louisiana to step up and do the same thing. But here's the thing. You can't just call there. And I say this to everybody in Louisiana. You can't just call there. You need to work. You need to call there, but let them know that you are working hard to making sure she gets out of office, because that's what they need to know. Because you ask a question, when are the legislators going to take their cut and pay? When we fire them, that's when they're going to take their cut and pay. And that's the only time they're going to take their cut and pay. So make no mistake about that. 866-300-9298. Let me go to David. David calling us from Texas. Hey, David.
Good morning, Dan.
Good morning.
Was curious if you could speak to the planned bank disaster drill that's supposed to take place this weekend.
Well, I can talk. I can talk a little bit about it, other than what I know about it. But keep in mind, when we hear anything that's coming out of what the banking sector is planning to do, they are under this veil of secrecy, because anything that is bad or perceived to be bad to the general public could cause a run on a particular bank or in the banking sector. So you really never get the truth. So the disasters drill that the banking sector is going through, first of all, is rather comical, because there's only one drill during a disaster that the banking sector is going to have to know. And it is the drill on how quickly one can get the key in the door to lock the door. And it's going to be how quickly one can shut down their website and their internet sites. It's not going to be, their disaster drill is not going to be any more complicated than that. So I say it's kind of a joke because it's comical to even think about the banks having a disaster drill. All they're going to do during a time of disaster is shut down. We, the people, will have no access to the banking sector when that happens. And so what they will do is shut everything down and then try to figure out, where do we go from here? So make no mistake about it, if they are, and this is being done under the premise that we need to prepare for how we can not only survive the disaster, but how we can still service and maintain some function in the banking system for our depositors. How are we going to do that? Well, like I said, it's a wonderful thought, but it's a joke because it's never going to happen. So all that to say, David, I don't mean to blow off your question, because it's a good one, or your comment. All I can say that it's kind of ridiculous to even think about it or talk about it, because the fact of the matter is that key's going to be in the door so stinking fast, and the plug's going to be pulled from the internet so fast that nobody's going to have any time to do anything. The disaster drill is going to be us. We're the ones going to have the disaster. It's not going to be the banks. So it's really kind of irrelevant. And if the drill fails, we'll never know about it. If the details of the drill need to be changed in some way, we're never going to know about it. So in other words, if a certain amount, say 10 banks are going through this drill, if 2 of those banks failed the drill, and we don't even know what the drill is, if we fail we'll never know about that either, because one of those 2 banks might be, your bank, and you would obviously go and say, look, they can't even handle the pending disaster. I'm taking my money out. So it's never going to be made public. And so when people call me all the time, David, and they ask, well, I was thinking about moving my money into this bank. Is it safe? I don't know. And the reason I don't know is because you can't know. Because when they do their audits, when the feds do this, testing of the banks, you never know the real results, because they can't say these banks are great to the banks that are great, because it would leave the impression that the banks that aren't on that list that are great are bad and people are going to move their money out. So that would make a bad bank worse, and they don't want to do that. So basically, it's almost, I mean, I read their financial statements. I have the ability, because I subscribe at a cost of $8,000 or $9,000 a year to a service by which I get all the details of any financial statement I want. But so I can look at that, and I can see that, and I can determine certain things about the fiscal soundness of the bank, or more importantly, about their debt to equity ratios. I can look at the decisions that they are making from a management perspective. You can look at the management letter that they've been received from the accounting firm, and so on and so forth. You can look at those things. You can draw some conclusions, but you never get a conclusive. That's why I don't buy bank stocks. Never have, never will. So, but when it comes to our personal banking, we ought to be concerned about that. Anyway, let me go to Willard. Willard calling us from Alabama, 866-300-9298, 866-300-9298. Before we click on Willard, let's just take a look at the markets. Dow's down 18 right now, relatively quiet. NASDAQ positive slightly, the S&P down slightly. So mixed on the indices, but S&P and Dow in negative territory. Go ahead, Willard. Willard?
Hello?
Yeah, go ahead, Willard.
Hey, Dan, how you doing this morning?
I'm doing good. Thank you.
Good. I appreciate everything that you do for the public, man.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
I've got a question. I've got a very small 401k and then a little bit larger one. Mm-hmm. And I've been thinking, should I combine those two together or just leave them separate? I mean, they both seem to be doing, as well as can be expected with the market conditions the way that they are now.
Are you contributing to one of them?
At this point, Dan, I'm not contributing to any of them.
Okay. So are you working for one of those companies still?
No, sir. I'm working for a company that I've been with for about a year now that has just started a 401k, which it's just it's very, very new. So I have basically hardly anything in that, and I'm not able to contribute. What I would like to be contributed has a very low figure what I'm contributing to it now.
How many more years do you think you're going to be working, Willard?
Well, I'm 58 years old, so, I would like to be able to retire, whenever I'm 60, 65, 66, depending on, the condition of my health.
Okay. So I would say, I think that, yes, you should combine them into your own, into an IRA account that, you can have a little control over. And the key is there's really no reason to have them separated, because you can still be diversified in one account. The key is that you don't have all your money that is in there into one thing, unless it's a money market account or something. You're just sitting on the sidelines. But I would probably like to see you combine that 401k account into one or the other, those two accounts, or into, if one's not an IRA, into an IRA account that you have at a brokerage or with your financial advisor if you have one. And I would combine them and try to continue to develop a good diversified portfolio with at least 50% of it or so in cash.
Hey, Cal. And I do have a money market. Now, did I understand you correctly the other day? It doesn't matter what. There's no way to protect that money once. If it's devalued, it's devalued, period. Right?
It's devalued, yeah. It doesn't matter if it's in a coffee can in your backyard. You're not going to change that. And once it's devalued, it doesn't matter where it is, it's going to devalue. So the only thing protection you get against a devaluation is something alternative. And, I don't believe in putting your money in things that aren't a real currency. So will gold go up in value? Yes, but the question is, what are you going to do with it? So I try to tell people to just keep it in cash right now and don't let it go down as a result of the market crashing because of the devaluation. 866-300-9298 if you want to queue your call up. We're going to break. We'll be right back after this break. And by the way, all the indices in negative territory.